football. It is National Signing Day. We're out of Fresno State. Coach Jeff Tedford ready to announce his first signing class. Coach, what do you got?
Well, it is an exciting day. Exciting day to sign our first class of 23 new Bulldogs, and so we feel like it was really successful. We're really happy with the quality of our class and feel like we addressed some of our needs. And last 2 months obviously been really busy hiring a staff and evaluating our team, find out what our needs are, then identifying and evaluating new recruits, and then getting on the road and building the relationships with them. So our staff did a tremendous job, and all the support groups did a tremendous job around campus and around town to host these guys and to bring them in. And with 23 guys, we had 11 guys on offense, 9 guys on defense, and 3 athletes. Athletes meaning they can play either side of the ball, and so we will figure that out as we go. We have 17 in-state guys and 6 out-of-state guys, so really tried to stay home. It is composed of 16 high school kids and 7 JC players and 5 from the Valley. So again, we're really excited about it. Everybody's worked really hard with it, and had a chance to meet a lot of great people. The families were great, and again, on with time constraints of doing this in the last month and a half or so, I thought our staff did a tremendous job of going out and identifying, evaluating, and then building relationships and selling Fresno State and getting a quality class in here.
Who would like to lead us off with questions in the group? Hey Jeff, Tom Chandler with ABC 30. What's it
like for you this time around with the recruiting process and social media and everything for you getting involved, and what this process was like as we get to signing day today?
Yeah, well, obviously that's the world we live in with social media, and that's really the way the kids communicate. And you know, sometimes it's even hard to get them on the phone because a lot goes through text messaging and things like that. But yeah, it's a part of it, and our staff is really good with it, and I'm learning to be better with it. And but it's just the way everyone communicates. You know, that's how you communicate with all the kids. I think, you know, I've spent numerous hours texting back and forth with kids and recruits. So it was good. It was really smooth, really, and so it was exciting. I really enjoyed it, and it was great for our staff to get out and be together and get home visits, and it taught our staff a lot about Fresno State, because when you have a new staff coming in, we have 3 guys on our staff that know Fresno State, that attended here and played here, but the other guys didn't, and so it was really kind of a crash course about what Fresno State offers and what Fresno's all about, and so I thought they did a great job of that.
Coach Chris over at ABC 30 as well. I got Aaron Mosey at Sanger. He's a Valley guy. What is the message that you and your coaches brought in the last month and a half about staying at Fresno State and building that Valley pride, and just what is the message that you guys delivered as far as what this program is and is going to be?
Well, I think it's pretty simple with guys that are here, because they understand and they've grown up with watching Fresno State and understanding the traditions at Fresno State and wanting to play close to home and around their family. And so he fell into that category. He's an excellent player. And, you know, watching him both at receiver and defensive back, he's a bright talent, and I think he's got a great future ahead of him.
Jeff, what was the strategy in getting the local guys, you know, from the central San Joaquin area, invested in going to Fresno State, excited about going to Fresno State again?
Well, again, first of all, it was about identifying and evaluating, and I want to say thank you to all the coaches throughout the Valley who, because we're we had a short amount of time to get this done. There was a lot of coaches that we've had relationships in the past that we relied on and that reached out to us to tell us about recruits, and then we could go to them and ask them about who are the guys you played against and so on and so forth. And so, as I mentioned to you all a while back, you know, it's going to be our main objective is to saturate the Valley, and we did that. We had coaches out in the Valley. I got out in Fresno one day and tried to hit as many schools as I could, and so the identification, we got some help with that because of our relationships in the Valley, and coaches eager to have their kids stay home.
More at blackboard.com. How are you and your coaches received by those local coaches that maybe haven't seen Fresno State around as much lately?
Great. Yeah, no, great. There's a lot of the same people. You know, I had intention one day of getting out to every school in Fresno, and I probably got to 85% of them. But, you know, I thought maybe I'd stop in there, but then you get caught up with some coaches you know them forever, and you know, before you know it, you've spent 45 minutes there talking about plays and drawing plays on the board and doing all that type of thing. So spending some time with them was great. But there are a lot of familiar faces here and a lot of people who have a lot of pride in Fresno State and would like to see the local talent stay home. So they're really helpful with it.
So much emphasis on the in-state recruits. How much vetting went into picking out those 6 guys you pursued out of state?
Really, it was from guys that we had previous relationships with, that the coaches, when they got here, they had been recruiting them before and knew about them. And so that we didn't spend our resources going out looking for players outside. It was on previous existing relationships that those relationships were part of it.
Surprises today?
Any surprises? No, there were no surprises. It went pretty well. Went like clockwork, really.
These, do you wake up in the morning wondering if there are going to be surprises on a day like this?
You always do. Yeah, you always do. It's you really, you know, there's a lot of anxiety around 7 a.m. Well, the first one was at 4 a.m. this morning. We were in here before, you know, about 3:45, waiting for an East Coast letter to come in. So once that was done, and then we had one that was supposed to come at 5, and that one was delayed a little bit because their parents weren't home, and so a little anxiety kicked in there, you know, what's going on, you know. But no, it was all, you know, once 7 o'clock hit for all the West Coast guys, they came in pretty quick, and so it was rolling there for a while, and you know, so, but I think you always have to expect that, you know. You can the longer you do this, whether there's drama on signing day or not, some years there are, some years there's not, and really there wasn't a lot of drama in what we were doing. Everything came through pretty clean.
Articulate your plan for the scholarships you didn't use today.
We're going to take our time with them, and I think banking or having 2 scholarships in your pocket is always helpful and can be beneficial down the stretch with guys who are still in junior college or guys who make it late or guys who didn't maybe get picked up today and kind of slipped through the cracks, and that's happened before. We recruited a great running back named Justin Forsett that Notre Dame dropped him at the last second, and somebody sent us his tape the next week, a week after signing date. We did some research, and he ended up being a really good player and still playing in the NFL. So those things happen, and so it's nice to have the benefit of a couple scholarships in your pocket in case those things arise.
Is there a particular position group that you look at today and is kind of a highlight for you?
No, I think going into it, when I said that we addressed some of our needs and we want to keep our scholarship numbers at certain positions, so we took 5 offensive linemen, we took 4 defensive linemen. Receivers weren't a big need. We took 2 receivers. We took 2 running backs. DBs was another point in there, and 2 of them being maybe swing players or athletes. So, and you know, 1 quarterback we took, and we'll probably keep our eye out too, because we're still, even though quarterback's on the roster, which I'm eager to watch them compete, We don't have our allotment of scholarships at that position on how we deem scholarships per position. But I felt like it was pretty broad-based on what our needs were and where our scholarship numbers are.
With the quarterbacks, do you have an expectation of how many you'll have competing on first day of spring practice?
There will be 6 right now. If you take into account the guys who plan to walk on here, there will be 6.
George Takata, Casey 24, 940 ESPN. Can you talk specifically about Ronnie Rivers and, of course, the legacy that his father left here in the recruiting process, and his stats just really pop out, and just how happy you were to get him and the relationship you've rekindled with his dad?
Yeah, well, I have tremendous respect for his dad. Coached him when I was here and he played here. Just an awesome player, and so I was eager to watch his tape. And there's a lot of similarities there. You know, his movement, his lateral movement, the way he makes people miss, he's got a lot of ability. And he was another one who appreciates Fresno State and the legacy here. And you know, like even the number he's going to wear, he's going to wear his dad's number. You know, so but he's a tremendous player and an awesome young man, great student, just a great young man. And so really happy to have him, and he's going to compete early to play.
Along those lines, do you need a good chunk of this class to compete to play early if you guys are going to be successful this fall?
We'll see. You know, we're still really in the evaluation process of our team. You know, I said to a couple people, and it just happened to be this way, that we probably know our recruits better than our team right now. And that's only because we got here so late. They went on Christmas break. As soon as they got back on January 17th, we had a team meeting and we were off recruiting again. So yesterday was really the first time that we had a chance to be around our players. We were in the weight room with them on Monday, the field yesterday to watch them run. So I don't really think we know who we are yet. And so really looking forward to getting around our players. We've been on the road so much, and the players have been off campus so much during this time, that I am really eager, and our staff's really eager to get around our players and watch them and get to know them and evaluate their progress. And then spring ball will tell a lot on how much this class will really make an impact on next year's team.
Jeff, you know, you got hired in November as opposed to after the season and sometime in December. Did that at all help in recruiting in any which way?
I think it did. I think it helped a little bit. Getting here at the end of November, I was really by myself though, so it was very hectic because you're trying to take a lot of calls in, trying to evaluate guys on your own, those type of things. So it was really hectic, but it did give me a little bit of time to try to get organized. One of the main hires, though, that I think was the key hire was our Director of Player Personnel. Spencer Harris just did a phenomenal job of coming and getting the recruiting department organized and worked tremendously hard in evaluating guys and keeping the coaches organized. And we're on the road to organize our recruiting weekends, and he just did a phenomenal job. And without him, this definitely would not have been that smooth.
How about those Canadian guys that you brought in? Was that part of you, or was that Steinauer, or was that both of you guys bringing in those guys from Canada?
No, actually, it was our offensive line coach. I mean, I know Orlando and myself have backgrounds in Canada, but our offensive line coach, Coach Grubb, with Mark David from Montreal, he worked with him in some camps at Ohio State and Eastern Michigan, so he had a really good book on him. And then watching some tape and evaluating Dante Bull from Victoria, felt like this guy had a lot of ability, and so we were able to get a relationship with him. And both those guys have tremendous potential, big guys that are athletic. And so we're really looking forward to them. But really it had nothing to do with me or Orlando.
Do you see that kind of being a trend in the future, going to Canada and bringing guys back?
Not necessarily. I mean, it wasn't a focus by any means. It just happened that way. It just happened that Coach Grubb had a relationship with him from last year and had been at camps with him and saw him and knew what he could do and had a lot of trust and confidence in him. And so, you know, if that wasn't the case, we wouldn't have known about him probably. And so, and then the other one, Dante, that was just from researching film and looking. So, you know, really I mean, we want to stay open to Canada, but we're not going to spend a lot of resources running up through Canada recruiting. There may be some people because we know and we have some relationships, but it's not going to be a main focus.
And more specifically, what about TJ Maga, little brother of Josh Maga, who plays in the NFL? Does he have that type of pedigree? He was at Nevada for a while. I thought for sure he was going to be part of the pack, but you guys were able to bring him in.
Yeah, TJ from Fallon, he's a really good player, really explosive. Played on the edge a lot in high school. We see that he's going to move down inside eventually, and but he does. He has a lot of similarities, and having that background and pedigree, like you mentioned, I think he does have that. And they were here on a trip, and great family and great young man, and so we feel like he really has a bright future as well.
Jeff, you've touched up on some of the individuals, and I know there's a few, but would you mind going through the list and talking a little bit about each recruit? Like what
All
you
23
went
of them?
through, what you projected?
Huh?
Or just the highlights, you know, I guess guys that really...
Why don't you pick a few you want to talk about? There's 23 of them here. I can do it if you'd like me to.
You know, I guess the quarterbacks...
Okay, I'll go through it then. Jorge Reyna, junior college quarterback, brings in a lot of experience, a lot of athleticism and arm strength. Felt like we needed some experience at quarterback, and through my study with tape, felt like he brings a lot to the table. Very competitive young man. He's on campus right now working out, so he's doing a great job. Jordan Mims, running back from Menlo Atherton, explosive player. I'm sure in the next couple days you'll be able to see all these guys' highlights. Does it all. He's a physical guy. Says 5'11", 180 there. I think he's closer to 190, 195. Ronnie Rivers, we talked about. Very elusive back, catches the ball really well. Great lateral movement. Very tough guy, runs hard. You know, for a guy not big on stature, he really runs with his pads low, and he can be physical. Two really good receivers, great receivers. Darren Grimm, who was a bounce back from Nebraska, and went to Delta JC, had a great year there, and was committed to Washington State in the beginning, and we were fortunate to get him flipped and have him stay home, and he will be here in the fall. Patrick June is a wide receiver from Morningside. When you see his tape, I think you're really going to be impressed. He's a long, athletic receiver that can do a lot of things, can make some people miss, great body control, you know, really good player. Two very solid receivers. Logan Javernick, who goes by Gunner, is a big 6'5" tight end, all-conference tight end from Ventura JC. They were in a lot of 10 personnel and didn't have a lot of tight ends on the field at times. But when he was in there, they really used him around in the red zone. He's a great target. He's a former basketball player, so he's really athletic and has great body control. Gets up and gets the football, and did a nice job in run blocking as well. Did a lot of movement with him, pulling on counter, leading on backers, things like that. Mark David, we talked about, from Montreal, who Coach Grubb has a great relationship with. He's a big guy, 6'5", 365, and I think that's probably being generous. He's probably a little heavier than that, but he's a big man, and he can move. He can really move. Dante Bull, we talked about, 6'7", 305. You're going to see his tape. He played tight end at times as well. Just a really, really good athlete. And both these guys just need to make the transition into the American game, but great physical skills. Cyrus from Pleasant Valley, a long tackle that actually went to the high school that Aaron Rodgers attended, And so it was great to go back on campus there and see him. Great family. Feel like he's a long guy, long arms, more of a tackle guy. You know, when you look at the offensive linemen, you have 2 tackles in Dante and Cyrus and 3 guards. Zealand is from Jay Serra. Really, really well coached. Plays with great base, really thick, athletic guy. But their high school coaches did a great job of coaching him. And he comes probably one of the most well-prepared guys in the class. And then Q Woodley, who signed last year, had to get some academic work done. He's with us right now on campus. Really athletic. You know, I can't wait for you guys to see their tape because you'll see what I'm talking about. Guys who have a little bit of attitude to them. They finish blocks. They play with some nastiness, but they have the athletic ability to put themselves in position to finish plays. Richard Cage is a defensive end from Roosevelt High School. Great pass rusher off the edge. Highly recruited guy, one of probably the highest ranked guys if you're going by rankings. But he's really athletic, great young man, great family. Feel like he could have the ability to make a sudden impact. Damian DeGrew, he's from Louisiana. And another guy with some speed, some edge rush. We felt like we really need to improve our pass rush and get some edge rushers to get after the quarterback. Those 2 guys do it. TJ Malga, we talked about from Fallon. He's probably going to move inside, even though he played outside in high school, but he's got the body type to get bigger and move down inside. Emeka, he's from De Anza College. He is another edge rusher, a guy who plays with a great motor. A guy like this being 6'1", anytime you can get guys like that play with great leverage and lean, they can give big, tall tackles a lot of problems because big, tall tackles can't bend. And when you watch him play, he gets off the ball. He's got a great motor. He can bend the edge, and he's relentless getting after the passer. So you have really 3 edge rushers there that are really going to help us with our pass rush. The DBs, Matt Boateng from Arizona Western College. He's going to play corner. He's a guy who has great range and, you know, being 5'11", he's a guy that can cover out on the edge and play man-to-man defense. He comes up and he'll hit you. He's really good in run support. Earl Chambers is from Merced College. He's going to play safety for us. Safety type of nickel, maybe guy that can kind of get closer to the box. He's a very physical guy. When you watch him, he comes downhill. He's a big hitter, and so he's a kid that we feel like can play a couple different positions, maybe either safety or come down into a will or nickel position. Sherman Coleman's probably maybe the fastest guy in the class, a little bit smaller guy, but has great feet and great speed. And another guy that you feel really comfortable with putting him on the edge, playing man-to-man. Waylon Free is a long corner, again, a 6'1" corner who is highly recruited and goes to Linwood High School. He's a track guy as well, but when you watch him play, same thing is true. You know, you get guys that are 6'1" that can go out there on the corner, gives you a lot of ability to cover some of the mismatched guys that people try to match you up with. And then Aaron Mosby, just a big athlete, 6'3", 200 pounds, from Sanger. He's a guy that can do a lot of things. I don't know that he may not end up getting down in the box pretty soon. When you're 6'3", 200 pounds, he's a great-looking guy. And you watch him play receiver at that size. He got great body control. He can go up and get the football. So when you watch him play receiver and then you watch him play safety, and you're going to see the range that he's going to be able to have, and he plays corner as well in high school, and he has really, really good instincts at corner. He'll come up and make plays. He'll hit you. He's instinctive to the ball. So we feel like he's got a lot of diversity with him that he can play either high as a safety or maybe drop down in the box from time to time. And then Chris Coleman is an athlete out of Bakersfield, Garces, who is a guy who can play defense or offense, depending on where our need is, because he does both. But he's pretty electric with the ball in his hands, pretty dynamic guy. And so we'll just have to see where he fits. where he could play the fastest for us. Daniel Moraga is a linebacker tight end guy. Those are his two positions. When you look at athlete, that he's really comfortable at tight end. You'll see him split out playing receiver a lot at that size. 6'4", 235, and he plays receiver. He plays in the slot. But then when you watch him play linebacker, he's very tough and he runs downhill and he's very physical. And so he would be a guy that you could attach at tight end that has the physical abilities, but the range and the vertical threat to get down the field and catch the football. Zane Pope is another athlete that could play either side of the ball. When I first looked at Zane Pope on tape, he reminded me of Keenan Allen, a guy that I've coached before. The body control, going to the football, route running, just really, really natural to the football. Makes great catches. He can play defense as well. So, again, he will be in that position to find out where he's going to play and where he could help us the soonest. There you go.
Do we have a couple last two questions?
Coach, obviously you come with a lot of credentials. How much do you think that plays a role into when you get these guys? Because I know the Aaron Rodgers, the Deshaun Jacksons, the Keenan Allen, some of the guys you've put in the NFL. How much do you think that has an effect on the kids you recruit?
I think it has some effect. Yeah, I think not just me, but our other coaches as well. Our other coaches coach a lot of good players. You know, so I think anytime you have history with those type of guys, you know, that they like that. They have confidence that they can maybe attain those goals one day. And really that our coaches know what that looks like, you know, knows what a guy like Deshaun Jackson looks like, or Aaron Rodgers looks like, or Marshawn Lynch looks like, or whomever it may be, you know. So, but yeah, I think they have confidence that we're going to turn this thing around really quickly. And so we're looking forward to having them all here on campus.
How much game film do you watch on each of these guys, you personally? How many phone calls do you personally make on behalf of each of these guys to assess character before you offer them a scholarship?
I couldn't even give you a number. I mean, it's all I've been doing for 2 months. So how many numbers that is, you know, take the, you know, kind of the hours in a day, and you're doing that constantly all day long. You're either watching tape or you're on the phone or you're talking to a coach about someone. But again, I want to say that our recruiting department, and Spencer Harrison, what he's done, the organization, and then a lot of it really goes to the coaches after a while, the position coaches, and they really form a great relationship, and we work together. When I need to talk to them, I do. But I'm recruiting, really, they recruit their positions, and then I'm with all the guys. So I'm a little bit more widespread, trying to see all of them. And then the organization of our recruiting department, of Spencer or anyone else in his office who says, hey, look at this guy. I get so many text messages and things a day, or emails or whatever, about look at this kid's huddle tape or whatever. So immediately I'm on the road or whatever, I'll just forward that to the recruiting office. They'll look at it. Then, you know, they'll kind of tell me, do I need to look at it or don't I need to look at it, that type of thing. You know, so it's really a group effort. That's where recruiting is now. It's just there's so much information that it's really impossible for you to do it on your own. So that's why having a really in-depth recruiting department is so vital.
Well, I was just curious. I mean, it's been almost 40 years since you signed to come play here at Fresno State. So what's the biggest difference?
40?
Well, you know, 37.
Has it been that long? Dang. Yeah. Wow.
Not to pick on
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up.
Well, what's the biggest, you just went through this.
Recruiting season, what's the biggest difference for what these recruits are going through compared to what you went through as a quarterback coming from down south?
Oh, it's night and day. I mean, it's, you know, obviously, you know, even back in the day when I first started recruiting, I was using a Thomas Guide map book, you know, and planning things out and having to pull over, you know, sometimes to use payphones, you know, to call people. I mean, that tells you kind of how, that's even when I was coaching, not even playing. But playing, it's just a lot different. But I will tell you the similarities. it always comes down to people. It always comes down to relationships and trust and being honest with kids. And if there's one thing that was really a common theme that every family, or most every family, said after they were here on a trip or whatever, was how genuine our staff is, and how much care we took of them, and how honest, and those type of things. And so I don't think that ever changes. You know, we can have all the technology in the world, but it still comes down to people and relationships. And I don't think that'll ever change.
And for the next almost 2 months till you start spring practice, what are the priorities of the program? What are the things that are going to be happening that are important?
Well, the coaches have 3 days off, actually. They're going to be off tomorrow and Friday and watch the Super Bowl on Sunday and have Monday off to travel back here. And then we're going to be into it with our systems, our schemes, offense, defense, special teams, be around our players to evaluate them and work with them, get to know them, build trust and confidence in them. And that's going to be key for this team in general, is just the trust and confidence that you know, our kids don't know who we are right now. You go out on the field, they don't know whether to holler or be quiet, you know, type of thing. I noticed that yesterday. You know, they just don't know yet, and that's not their fault. But there's a lot of growth that we need to do. And so I can't wait to do it, though. I am so happy to be back here, and it feels like it's going to be the first time I get to sleep in my own bed for more than probably 2 or 3 days in a row, you know. So, I mean, I just can't wait to settle in, get to know these guys. Of course, we start right back with recruiting, you know, because that's a never-ending process. So that already started today, you know, for the 2018s. So that's a never-ending process. But, you know, get our systems put in place, make sure we get to understand who our team is, build trust and confidence, and then look forward to spring ball starting.
All right, thank you, Coach Tedford, and thank you, everybody, for coming.
All right, thank you all.